never done anything like this before, something new. Essentially what I'm going to try to do is go off on a tangent about two teams, in this case the 2003 Florida Marlins and the New York Yankees, and divulge how the two teams with the polar opposite ends of the spectrum in a mere 15 years. So it's 2003, Game 6 of the World Series. Josh Beckett's on the mound versus Jorge Posada. It comes down to the final out. Jorge Posada hits a little dribbler on the first base line. Beckett picks him up and tags out Posada. Marlins fans are elated. They win their second title in their young history. Most of the baseball world is absolutely stunned by this because no one thought that this young wild card team could go all the way. But yet again, when you take a look at it, this team is stacked. They have a very phenomenal young rookie of the year in Dontrell Willis, a promising young star in A.J. Burnett, the closing pitcher of Josh Beckett, the phenomenal catcher in Ivan Rodriguez, among a plethora of other talent that could be named. Now, before the Marlins are ready to go on to 2004, you got to look at what they have in their arsenal. So previously in their original World Series run back in 1997, a thriller in 7 games where the Marlins overcame the Cleveland Indians in a 7-game walk-off. The Marlins had achieved it all, proven their dynasty in a young era. But then the previous year they gutted the team entirely in 1998, going 54 and 108, plummeting with a 38-game loss differential in one single season, proving that anything can happen to any team ever. So the Marlins are ready to go on a young spring and go off and try and become a new dynasty like every other team wants to be sometime in their history. So flash forward to 2004, and the Marlins, right off the bat, trade Ivan Rodriguez right to the Detroit Tigers, where he will become a phenomenal star and continue his reign of his career. And right off the bat, the Yankees will sign Alex Rodriguez from the Texas Rangers. And now this team is young, it's prosperous, but they still have a lot of flaws to fill. Right off then, the pitching is a little rough. They still have Josh Beckett, they have A.J. Burnett, and they have practically anything they want to use in their arsenal. As well as these two pitchers, the Marlins also have the young phenom in Miguel Cabrera, who little do they know is a small gold mine waiting to happen. Now the Yankees, like always, they have their phenomenal team, as always. So they do what they always do, they make it to the ALCS, except this was the first time in history this ever happened. They're going to blow a 3-0 lead to the Boston Red Sox, who will eventually overcome their 86-year World Series drought and beat the St. Louis Cardinals in 5 games. So, in 1 year, the Marlins have already tanked slightly lower. They missed the playoffs with this young, prosperous team, but nonetheless, they're ready for 2005. The Yankees are going to do what they always do. They're going to come far. So, 2005, the Marlins are poised to make a comeback in the NL East. Dontrell Willis goes off with the Cy Young Award, and amongst the rest of the team, a lot of their players have great years. All from Miguel Cabrera, Burnett, Beckett, and Carlos Delgado. Now, Delgado and Miguel Cabrera each at 33 home runs each. Although this mighty power repertoire will lead them to 83-game season, nonetheless, they won't be able to make the playoffs for the second year in a row. And meanwhile, back up in New York, the Yankees, as always, they're stacked. They have A-Rod, Jeter, Matsui, Giambi, among others. And also in 2005, the Yankees introduced this young phenom second baseman named Robinson Cano, who will come again later and lead a prosperous career and help the Yankees greatly in the future. And then, although this Yankee team is absolutely stacked, they fall in the first round of the ALDS to the Los Angeles Angels. And in their triumph, A-Rod wins the American League MVP in 2005. Still a very solid year for the Yankees as always. Now flash forward to 2006. Some of the players in the Marlins are a little fed up with their crappy seasons. Josh Beckett is dished off to the Boston Red Sox, where he'll have a great career. A.J. Burnett is dished off the Toronto Blue Jays. He'll have a mediocre career, but we won't see the last of him just yet. Also in 2006, the Marlins are introduced to 5 young phenom players: Dan Uggla, Hanley Ramirez, Josh Willingham, Josh Johnson, and Anibal Sanchez. Now, most teams cannot win an entire division simply with a couple of rookies. Granted, these are future phenomenal stars. Hanley Ramirez will even go on to win the 06 Cy Young or 06 Rookie of the Year in the National League. But nonetheless, Marlins are in a growing year once again, but they feel like they're ready for the playoffs next season. And then the Yankees do what they always do. They're a stacked team. They're going to go to the ALDS once again, except this time they'll fall to the Detroit Tigers rather than the Los Angeles Angels. So the Yankees still have a stacked team, but they're ready. 2007 will be their year. The Marlins thinking of the same lines. 2007 rolls along, and the Marlins have this absolutely phenomenal batting lineup. Willingham, Ramirez, Uggla, and Cabrera will all go off, destroy pitchers in the National League. But yet again, they have no pitching to back them up whatsoever. So while the Marlins' repertoire in the batting order is absolutely stacked, their pitching shits the bed entirely. Marlins go 71-91 with a rough year. But yet again, little do they know that they have a goal in mind. Their recent draft pick, a guy named Mike Stan, we will get to very shortly. And while the Marlins have trouble already brewing in their own team, let alone in the National League East, the Philadelphia Empire begins, which will mark a lot of pain for the Marlins in the future. 2007, the Yankees have another decent year, but yet again they will fall in the ALDS for the third year in a row, this time to the Cleveland Indians. But like 2005, Alex Rodriguez will win another MVP award, so at least that'll give the Yankees something to root for in the 2007 season and giving them hope for the 2008 season to come. For the amusement of Marlins fans, Josh Beckett gets a ring in 2007 with the Boston Red Sox after they defeat the Colorado Rockies 4-0 in the World Series. So the Marlins team is left in shambles. So flash forward to 2008. Miguel Cabrera and Dontrelle Willis are dished off to the Detroit Tigers. Miguel Cabrera will eventually become the best hitter of the 2010s, while Dontrelle Willis' career will slowly dissipate into absolutely nothing in a very short amount of time. So, along with this, the Marlins still have their young stars of Dan Uggla, Hanley Ramirez, Willingham, etc. But their pitching is decent, but they still don't have enough caliber to go to the playoffs eventually. I mean, don't get me wrong, Josh Johnson has a great year, along with Ricky Nolasco, but they still can't piece enough together to get to the playoffs. And then, surprisingly enough, the Yankees in 2008 missed the playoffs as well, falling to a Cinderella team, Tampa Bay Rays and Boston Red Sox. So 2008 is also a rough year for the New York Yankees, but they will get back for 2009. And with a positive season in 2008, the Marlins are hoping to do something similar. So in 2009, the Marlins get another Rookie of the Year in Chris Coghlan, their third Rookie of the Year in the past 6 seasons. So while this is all happening, Dan Uggla, Hanley Ramirez, Willingham, the rest of the Marlins do their thing. So hitting lineup is still looking very positive, but their pitching is still a little bleak, although Josh Johnson has a pretty decent year. But he's typically laced with injuries, which will derail him over time. Nonetheless, the Marlins have a pretty decent year overall. They're not phenomenal, but they do finish above 500, going 83-79. However, this will mark the last time to this day that the Marlins finish with a positive record above 500. But 2009 will mark a very phenomenal year for the Yankees because they're going to use their affluent salary cap to basically sign whoever the hell they want. So, the Yankees, speaking of this, they signed Mark Teixeira from the Los Angeles Angels. They signed Nick Swisher from the Chicago White Sox. They signed CeCe Sabathia from the Milwaukee Brewers. And accompanying this with Jeter, Posada, Rodriguez, their entire rotation. They are a stacked team, and this stacked team will go all the way to the 2009 World Series, where they will defeat the Philadelphia Phillies in 6 games. So they win 4-2 in the World Series. That is title number 27 for the Yankees. And now this extreme dynasty is ready to repeat and take over baseball as it has so many times in the past. So 2010 is the Yankees as the defending World Series champions. They're ready to make an impact on the MLB. But first up in Florida, Marlins are doing what they usually do. Glenn Ramirez have great hitting seasons like always. Ricky Nolasco steps up as a decent hitter, or the pitcher, I mean. Gabby Sanchez is a first baseman, has a pretty solid year, trying to help the Marlins in any way possible. And aside from all these stars doing pretty good, the world is introduced to Mike Stanton finally, the aforementioned draft pick in 2007, who is ready to make his impact in the MLB. Also with the Marlins, Josh Johnson has a Cy Young caliber year. Loses out to the late great Roy Halladay, who pitched 2 no-hitters, 1 perfect game against even the Marlins in May that year, and against the Cincinnati Reds in 2010 ALDS. But nonetheless, a good year from Johnson, nonetheless. So, back in New York, the team is still stacked. They're trying to make a playoff push. They signed Curtis Granderson to a few-year deal. He becomes a massive powerhouse in the Yankees' arsenal. So the Yankees go through. They win another AL East division. They tear through the ALDS, but then they fall short to the Texas Rangers in the ALCS, who will eventually go on to lose the World Series. And speaking of the Rangers losing the World Series, they lost to the San Francisco Giants, whom the Marlins traded Cody Ross to back earlier in the trade deadline, just to rub it in the Marlins' faces once again. Another one of their former stars has won the World Series with a different team. Speaking of that, too, A.J. Burnett in 2009 won another World Series with the Yankees. So that makes 3 of the former Marlins players, Josh Beckett, A.J. Burnett, and Cody Ross, all former Marlins with bright careers, winning World Series titles with other teams who the Marlins did not hold on to long enough for them to prosper correctly. So they're waiting for 2011 to try and make an even more better push. 2011 rolls along. The Marlins are still somewhat hopeful of making a playoff appearance. But right off the bat, Dan Uggla is dished off to the rival Atlanta Braves. No worries to the Marlins fans. His career has slowly dissipated at a rate slightly lower than Dontrelle Willis's, so nothing to lose majorly right there. Hanley Ramirez has a rough year, backed by injuries and other potential slumps. Josh Johnson is also laced with injury, holding him back from his fullest potential. I mean, Anibal Sanchez will step up a little bit and boost the losses from the aforementioned Johnson. And then Logan Morrison is a young rookie in Florida, so he's going to have a pretty decent year. A little bit of hope. He has some power, not as much as Stanton does. Speaking of him, he has 34 home runs that year, proving the baseball world what he's capable of in his future to come. So, in New York, the Yankees have a decent year as always, except this time they go to the playoffs, and they'll fall in the ALDS in 5 games to the Detroit Tigers, who are stacked by this one man, Miguel Cabrera, who is backing their lineup entirely. Marlins really should have kept him, but alas, they didn't. And then meanwhile, the Yankees' retirement parade will slowly begin with Jorge Posada, as the first member of these dynasty teams are finally coming to a close finally. But still, Jorge Posada is only one man, which leaves the Yankees very possible for coming back in 2012 and becoming something great like they did in 2009. In 2012, it's been 10 long years since the Marlins have made the playoffs. The people in Miami are now desperate to try anything that they can to achieve a successful playoff run as they once had 10 years ago. So the Marlins, thinking of this, they hit puberty entirely. You know, they ditched the teal, they jumped to orange. They're no longer the Florida Marlins, they are now the reunited, rejuvenated Miami Marlins. They have this fancy-ass M as their logo, this little fish thing at the top. They are ready to become a powerful dynasty. Giancarlo Stanton has another tremendous year, as anyone else could expect. Emilio Bonifacio has an okay year with the Marlins, another decent young hitter. Jose Reyes, an older star, is traded from the New York Mets to the Miami Marlins, hoping that he can become a critical piece in their repertoire. Eventually, at the trade deadline, the Marlins are not doing what they were expected to do, so Hanley Ramirez gets tired of all the Marlins losing, as Dan Uggla had the previous year, and he's going to jump ship to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So now the Marlins are left in shambles for the umpteenth time. They lose 90 games, and their brand new ballpark, this gigantic booger in the heart of Miami in Marlins Park, they have a crappy inauguration, and then they disappoint their fans once again. And then meanwhile up in New York, what else would happen in New York? The Yankees are going to be great like always. In 2012, they're going to go to the playoffs. They're going to go to the ALCS this time, and they're going to be swept by the Tigers in 4 games. And also, it's still in the Tigers reigning supreme, Miguel Cabrera. So the Yankees have a bit of an off year, but this would mark a decent year for the Yankees because, to the pleasure of many baseball fans, would reign a 2-year debt in the Yankees playoff run. And any year where the Yankees don't make the playoffs is like a stunning year in baseball. So kudos to the Tigers for putting a tad dent in the Yankees playoff spouts. But although the Marlins are still struggling in 2012, it marks the beginning of a brand new empire in their division, the rise of the Washington Empire with Bryce Harper, Steven Strasburg, Gio Gonzalez, and all the other young stars that the Nationals have. Previous year, the Philadelphia Empires died, but yet again, the Marlins are still being terrorized in the National East, facing no success, still longing for something beautiful. So 2013, Marlins aren't sure what to do. Time will tell the story of what will happen to them. So as anyone with a brain could have expected, Marlins in 2013 we're going to have a pretty crappy year. But however, the Marlins are introduced this young phenomenal ace that they'll have in their system named Jose Fernandez, who will obliterate hitters in the National League, killing them all, showing them his boss, winning the 2013 Rookie of the Year, because that's what the Marlins do. They get these phenomenal stars, win Rookie of the Year, and then develop them to where they become nothing. So, kudos to Fernandez showing him his boss, making an entertaining piece for Marlins fans to watch again, because Stanton in 2013 is laced with injuries, which hurts the Marlins tremendously. Now, the Marlins have a few other young stars in Christian Yelich and Marcell Ozuna, who have okay, mediocre years, nothing phenomenal, but decent debut years. But little do the Marlins know, they have a small golden line on their hands waiting to happen, but they just got to be patient, wait for it to come. So the Yankees, meanwhile, are now stagnated by an older squad. They have a decent year, nothing phenomenal. They go 85-77, but failed to make the playoffs in 2013. And as Jorge Posada retired just 2 years ago, the retirement parade continues with Andy Pettitte, a phenomenal starting pitcher for the Yankees, and the closer with the most saves of all time, Mariano Rivera. So, although the Yankees still had a positive record, they failed to make the playoffs, and the Marlins are still atrocious, hoping to do something, because they dropped 10 games lower than they did the previous year, going 62-100 in their sophomore season at Marlins Park, hoping for anything that 2014 can bring a little spark of hope in their young future. So 2014, the Marlins have another decent year. They're not great, but they're improving from what they have been. So 2013, Stan has another phenomenal year, except he is delayed once again by injuries, putting up good stats, but not living up to his highest potential. So the injury bug is still reigning supreme in Miami. Same thing happens with Jose Fernandez. His second year in the big leagues is hurt due to injuries as well. However, Henderson Alvarez, another promising young pitcher in the Marlins system, will pick him up and deliver to a certain extent, not to anything carrying the team, because there's only one pitcher who can do so much. Christian Yelich and Marcell Ozuna both have alright years once again. Nothing phenomenal, but they're still growing. They're not at their top potential yet, but they're still getting there. The Marlins acquired Casey McGehee over the offseason that year, who had a surprisingly one-hit wonder year, having plus being an all-star, but not leading the Marlins to anything more than mediocrity. And meanwhile, in New York, things are going downhill still. Derek Jeter's having his massive retirement parade across the league. Too many, which is humble and positive. But yet again, the former MVP of the Yankees twice, Alex Rodriguez, is suspended for the entire season for PEDs, becoming the most hated man in the big leagues if he wasn't already for the aforementioned steroid usage. And then the Yankees signed a young pitcher from Japan in Masahiro Tanaka, who tears up the league that year as a young ace, just as Jose Fernandez had previous year. So he's proven himself worthy. So the Yankees have some positivity, the Marlins have some positivity. The Yankees waved one final goodbye to Derek Jeter, who finishes 6th all-time in hits with 3,465, marking an absolutely incredible career. The Yankees missed the playoffs one more time in their slight drought, but have something to look forward to in Tanaka and a few other young stars as they revamped their team for the first time in a really long time. So, although Derek Jeter is said goodbye to, Marlins fans, he will come back. Don't worry, just you wait. So 2015 for these teams will be their year. They're ready once again like they were 10 years ago. Something good will happen. They're ready. 2015 is once again a growing year for the Marlins as they're ready to take on something new, like they always have been. So, trying to rejuvenate their team once again, the Marlins make a good move and sign D. Gordon from the Los Angeles Dodgers, who will have a really good season and get 205 hits, acting as a great leadoff man for the Marlins, something that they needed in their lineup. And although he proves himself worthy, Giancarlo Stanton cannot stay healthy once again, so Stanton gets injured, taking away their biggest power hitter on their team. Jose Fernandez is injured, so they lose their best pitcher once again. So he's out. But Christian Yelich has an okay year. But injuries, once again, will kill the Marlins and any hope they have of making the playoffs. The Marlins will go 71-91, having another losing season all the way since 2009. And then the Yankees, on the other hand, Alex Rodriguez comes back. He has a great bounce back year. Hits 30-plus home runs at his age 40, which is very impressive. Masahiro Tanaka has a decent season. The Yankees are doing their thing. They're not incredible, but they make it to the wild card game. But although they have high hopes, they fall to the Houston Astros in a single-game elimination wild card. They will not see the last of the Astros in this young era in baseball, but the Yankees have something to look forward to. They made the playoffs once again. They ended their massive 2-year drought for the Yankees, and in the process of doing so, they dished the 41-year-old Ichiro Suzuki off on the Mariners or the Marlins' doorsteps to hopefully give the Marlins a little bit of mentoring for the next few years to come. But the Marlins are still looking for something better, although they haven't achieved anything incredible over the past couple of years. So 2016, as their players are getting older, they hope they can knot something together as one and try and form a powerful playoff. So in 2016, as this half-assed renaissance continues for the Marlins, it hits a brick wall as anyone else could have expected. So right off the bat, D. Gordon is suspended for 80 games for steroid usage, maybe because Barry Bonds was a hitting coach that year, but who the hell knows. So D. Gordon's out. Stanton is laced with injury once again. Christian Yelich is still mediocre. But on the positive side, Jose Fernandez does have a positive year. He finally is not swamped by injuries. He shows him who's boss, has another great season as he did in 2013. So he becomes another star player, as he always has been in the 4 years he's been with Miami. And then, while Miami is suffering as always, New York is prospering as Gary Sanchez, this young spunky catcher, comes to the big league and starts obliterating baseballs, hitting bombs for days in New York, showing the catcher pride and the power that has not been seen since Mike Piazza. And speaking of catchers, the Marlins actually acquire a pretty decent catcher in JT Realmuto, who had a pretty breakthrough year for the Marlins. Back to New York, Mark Teixeira, the guy who they acquired from the Angels back in 2009, retires. Alex Rodriguez returns after his comeback year, but cannot produce to what he did the year before. So he's going to retire as well. So the Yankees are losing 2 more of their veteran players. Although Alex Rodriguez did take PEDs, you cannot take away the fact that he has 696 home runs, which is 4th of all time, plus finishing with 2,000-plus RBIs, which he is in the top 3 of. So kudos to A-Rod for having a great year, I guess, and Mark Teixeira as well. And although the Yankees still have Tanaka and Sabathia, who have solid years, they did not make the playoffs in 2016. But with Gary Sanchez and a young guy named Aaron Judge, who the Yankees will see more in 2017, the Yankees are ready for something new. But before the 2016 season officially comes to a close, tragedy strikes in Miami as news spreads that Jose Fernandez has died in a boating accident at 3 in the morning off the coast of Miami on September the 25th, 2016, killing him at the age of 24, to the heartbreak and dismay of Marlins fans, the baseball world, and his family altogether. So, the loss of this great pitcher not only destroys the Marlins physically in their playing career, but destroys the team mentally. He was a very positive player. He was jovial. He personified the voice of baseball. He wanted to play. He was youthful. He was incredible. It was an absolutely horrible day to hear the news of when he passed. So, a few days later, the Marlins postponed the game on the day that he passed, as they properly did. So a few games later, though, the Marlins play one of the greatest games in their career. Dee Gordon, who barely ever hits home runs, is back from a suspension, hits a bomb deep into the right field wall, 400-plus feet in Miami. They take down whoever they played, but still, it was one of the greatest Marlins games and one of the most emotional baseball games of the modern era. It was truly incredible. So as 2016 ends on a very rough note for the city of Miami and baseball as a whole, they're hoping they can avenge the loss of their great pitcher and hopefully string something together in 2017 as a city and a team as a whole. So we have finally made it to the present year of 2017. Right off the bat, the Marlins properly retire Jose Fernandez as number 16, which is the beginning of a mournful but hopeful 2017 season. His spirit must have driven the players in the Marlins, as the following players each had a phenomenal year. Dee Gordon, Romuto, Christian Yelich, and then especially Marcell Ozuna, who had MVP caliber season, 37 home runs, 300-plus average, 130-plus RBIs, but he falls short to his teammate and Giancarlo Stanton, who finally maintains to stay healthy for the entire year. It's 59 home runs in a single season, breaking the record among the single-season active record, beating Ryan Howard's by 1, still falling short to all-time Barry Bonds' 73 in 2001, but nonetheless a phenomenal year, more than deserving of the MVP award. So the Marlins have a tremendous hitting year. Their pitching is okay, not phenomenal. They won 77 games, and they finished second in a very poor NL East race. But this team is ready. They are stacked. All they need is a little bit of pitching, and they can have a phenomenal playoff run. So, in New York, great news is going for them as well, as Aaron Judge, this man mentioned previous year, basically mimics Giancarlo Stanton. Same body type, 6'7", 280 pounds. He hits 52 home runs, a rookie record in a single season. And then, accompanied by Gary Sanchez, Didi Gregorius, Masahiro Tanaka, CC Sabathia, a stacked rotation, a stacked lineup. And then, above all, Luis Severino, another young star in New York, becomes a Yankees ace and leads them to greatness. The Yankees become very close to winning the AL East title. They fall 2 games short of the Boston Red Sox, but nonetheless, they make the wild card, and they go on. They defeat the Minnesota Twins in the wild card. They go on, they beat the Cleveland Indians, who choked for the second straight year. Now the Yankees are in the ALCS versus the Houston Astros. Now this is a great series. The Houston Astros almost pulled the Cleveland Indians and blew a gigantic lead. In a thrilling Game 7, the Astros overcame the Yankees, but the Yankees are ready to destroy for 2018. Now, as the previous baseball legend Derek Jeter retired just 3 years ago, he's ready to get back into baseball. And to the joy and pride of Marlins fans, this baseball legend has announced that he will become the co-owner of the Miami Marlins, which brings so much hope and delight into the Marlins fan base. So, As the season winds down and the Marlins just need a little bit of pitching, they're hoping they can go out and acquire some of the more promising free agents. But then Derek Jeter has other things in mind. So since the Marlins are so close and they're ready, Jeter's going to destroy them as he did in years past. D. Gordon is shipped off to the Seattle Mariners. Christian Yelich is dished off to the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, they still have Stanton and Ozuna, nonetheless, but Derek Jeter says we don't need them either. He sends Marcell Ozuna off to the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Marlins fans went from kissing the ground at which he walked, ready to tear his head off in a fit of rage at Derek Jeter just demolishing the team, almost like they did in 1997, but yet again, he was a player then, not an owner. And so, Giancarlo Stanton, he was the face of Miami, and then Derek Jeter offered him a very lucrative contract, and to the heartbreak and rage of Marlins fans across the world, Stanton is dished off to the dark side. He joins the New York Yankees, where him and the very scary Aaron Judge will bat back-to-back in the lineup. And the Yankees have once again established a dynasty and became the New York Yankees once again, ready to reign supreme terror over Major League Baseball. So, the Marlins are once again in an extreme rut, and now they're in a bigger abyss than they have been in the past 10 years. And unless a miracle happens, the playoff drought since 2003 will likely return. So, to sum up everything in this long-winded video, the Marlins have only made the playoffs twice in their entire career since 1993, being the only one of two teams to never win a division in their entire history, accompanied with the Colorado Rockies, who were both ironically founded in 1993, which is a little trippy when you think about it. But yet again, the Marlins are also the only team to go undefeated in playoff baseball, never being eliminated, both as wild cards, going all the way to the World Series and winning it. Granted, they've only been in 6 series, so I guess kudos to the Marlins. That's something to celebrate in Miami, so woohoo to them. But still, baseball and any other sport is like a stock market almost. If the Yankees were a stock, they would probably be like 850, whereas the Marlins would probably be like 25. So, as all these years of shitty baseball and agony from Marlins fans, their attendance numbers went from high, or not even that high, they were mediocre to begin with, and then they just plummeted to low. And when a team does not bring in a lucrative amount of money, they can't sign these players to these massive contracts as the Yankees have, which only leaves the Marlins in a cycle of abyss, agony, and playoff drought. So, with that, Marlins fans, you have my sympathy. You probably have the sympathy of many others in baseball too. We are rooting for you. Yankees, they're the Yankees. They're going to be amazing. I mean, the Astros can knock them out still. Maybe Cleveland can if they don't choke, but nonetheless, we'll let time dictate that for all. So with that, thank you for listening to my long spiel. If you enjoyed it, please like it, subscribe, whatever the hell you want to do. If you hated it, ridicule the crap out of me, whatever, do your thing. And nonetheless, stay tuned. Next video, I'm going to dissect the 2014 World Series opponent, Kansas City Royals and San Francisco Giants, and analyze the rise and fall of their empires as well. So with that, this is how the two teams of the Florida Marlins and New York Yankees have grown to total opposite ends of the spectrum in a matter of 15 years apart. So thank you. Stay tuned. By the way, if anyone's still here watching this, and you want to take a close look at the board, I apologize for my absolutely atrocious handwriting. But yeah, hopefully this will give you a better look. It's a better brief through. So, but yeah. Nonetheless, thank you for watching, and stay tuned, as I said before. So thank you.